Hello, everybody. The DUI guy is back. Sorry, I'm a little behind. It is about 6:40 here. Traffic was really bad, so sorry if I kept you all waiting. But I'm here. That's all that matters. I'm here. And we can get this show on the road. How's it going, everybody? How's everybody doing? Good evening on this wonderful, warm, surprisingly, in Kentucky, it's really warm Saturday. Please, no politics in the chat. I would very much appreciate it. Merry Christmas, Red Rex. Holy crap, kicking things off. Kathy's here, Mile High Medic. Kevin Coburn. Kevin, what's going on, man? Watching the snow in Michigan. I'm sorry. We had a little bit of flurries here in Kentucky, but nothing too serious yet. Knock on wood. I think I should have at least one or two moderators here in a little bit. Kim said she's going to be here. I don't know. She may have not seen me on at 6:30. Thought that I was probably not coming, which is not true. I am here and I'm ready to get things kicked off. So, no, that was me knocking on wood, Kathy. No one is knocking. It's closed. The office is closed to the public. And I'm not expecting anybody, so we should be fine. Today we're going to be exploring another fascinating topic. The backing up of the court system, by the way, has always been one of the things that we had to deal with as a criminal defense attorney practicing in the United States, here in Kentucky specifically. And today we're going to touch upon this topic in greater depth. And we are going to explore options of what we can do to make it better, of where it is right now. At least I can give you a little bit of insight as to how it looks like in Kentucky right now. And I think it's going to be good. I think this is a really going to be a good day for us, a good evening of discussion and questions and so on. Hello, Epsis Media. But first, a few orders of business. So first and foremost, nothing really a lot to report channel-wise. We're just slowly but surely continuing to grow. We're at 51,500 subscribers, I think, last I checked. No, 51,300, excuse me. I thought it was more for some reason. Maybe it was like there was a 5 in there somewhere. But anyway, almost 51,400. So woohoo! Continuing to grow. Very exciting. Other than that, really not much to report. Memberships continuing to grow. So if you haven't joined as a member yet, by all means, feel free. Enjoy the perks, the emojis, the memes, the member-only memes that you get access to, and eventually, I just shared them in the chat, and then eventually, we're going to be able to give you a little bit more insight if you're a tier 2 subscriber. So that's fun, fun stuff. Another order of business is just so happens. I mean, I honestly could not have planned this in any way, shape, or form, but it fell on a Saturday. Today marks my 2-year anniversary since I quit alcohol. To the day. December 11th, 2018, I think was that was the last day I've had a drink. So December 12th, 2020 is exactly 2 years, and it's pretty exciting. It's actually it feels a lot more of an accomplishment than it should. And again, it's some of you who know me, I'm not an alcoholic. It's not, I didn't go to AA and all that stuff. I just decided to quit because it was not conducive to my business. It was not helping me in any way, shape, or form. It was just, hurting me, hangovers and such. So I decided, why bother? And I quit. I think a lot of my clients had a lot to do with it. People ask me, why. I've just seen so much destruction from alcohol that it made no sense. It made absolutely, because the only benefit you get is a very brief period of pleasure, and I didn't see the cost and benefit analysis. Just said, cut the cord, and I did. So today is exactly 2 years since I've done it. And I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. It really does feel like a big accomplishment, even though it's not like, I know drug addicts because I represent a lot of them. And to them, it's a day-to-day struggle that, you ask any drug addict who's in recovery, and they'll tell you that, it's a day-to-day struggle. It's difficult. And, every day they have to remember and remind themselves. I don't have that. So it's fairly easy. But it still feels like an accomplishment because, not to have a single drop in 2 years is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Do I miss it? No, I don't miss it at all. If I missed it, I would have probably drank by now. I have absolutely no desire. It has no benefit for me. But Jose, I'm in Kentucky. I'm in Louisville specifically, but I service all of Kentucky and parts of Indiana. So anyway, that's another, and I think I had a bit of news. Yes, this is important. So we couldn't stream last Saturday. I had some personal stuff to take care of. Next Saturday, the 19th, which is our normal stream day, I will not be streaming because I am going to be in the Dominican Republic. So I've thought about it. Do I want to do like an informal, on the beach? And I decided against it. So I'm not going to be streaming from, hey, disorderly product news. So I'm not going to be streaming next Saturday. I'm just going to be, doing my own thing. And then I think I already mentioned this, December 26th, the day after Christmas, and Christmas falls on a Friday this year, so people are probably going to be having like we have a half day in the office on the 24th, so people are probably going to be with their families, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm not going to be streaming on Saturday, the day after Christmas, the 26th. People are going to be with their families. I don't want to cut you guys out. I'm probably going to be with my own family, that sort of thing. So I don't want to step on the holiday spirit, so to speak. So I'm not going to be streaming the next 2 Saturdays. Just so happens. I did not plan this. Blame COVID, right? Just blame everything on COVID. Anything that doesn't go right, it's COVID. Blame COVID. Anyway, but January 2nd, no reason not to stream, especially since it will have been like 3 weeks since my last stream, which is today. So our next stream is going to be in January. That's why I haven't released the December calendar, since I'm only having one stream in December. Now, I've also thought about maybe streaming earlier, but I have a set schedule and we're just going to stick to that. So September, I don't know where that came from. January 2nd, I think was what I was trying to say. January 2nd will be the next stream. So, keep your eyes peeled. This will be the first and last and only stream in December. So, and there were, by the way, the reason I was late, there were surprisingly a lot of people outside, despite the fact that, pandemic and all that. And I thought we were closing down and there were cars galore. And I was thinking about it, like, why is there so much traffic on a Saturday evening at like 6:30 p.m. no less? I've never seen it like this. And then I remembered Christmas shopping. I think people are doing their Christmas shopping. I'm not sure why there's absolutely so many people out. I've, it's crazy. I did not expect that. That's why, it took me by surprise. But anywho, Adrian Smith, send me an email or a message on my website, and I'll be happy to talk. We don't do legal advice, like personal legal advice, here on the channel. First of all, nothing I say is legal advice, as you all know. This is all for entertainment purposes. That goes without saying. It's in the disclaimer. But if you need case-specific assistance, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email. All right. So tell me about, everyone is talking about the DR. I'm sorry, I have not been paying attention to chat very much. The DR must be, what is DR? Will someone please explain what the acronym is? Because I'm not 100%. I see it here and there, unless you're asking somebody else. Thank you, Love Life. I appreciate that. Hey, Princess. Oh, for the love of God, I'm sorry. My brain obviously has not been turned on yet. Dominican Republic. So it wasn't that cheap. So it's just a place to go. I mean, my folks wanted to go, and I decided to tag along. It's just a vacation. I didn't really calculate if it's cheaper to go or if it's more expensive to go somewhere else. Honestly, it was just a destination that popped into our heads. So, but yeah, I really don't have much to report. I'm just going to enjoy the beach. So yeah, my email address, let me type that in there in the chat so that you all can have it. If you need to ask me any questions that are specific to your case, and it does not concern everybody else. Obviously, I don't want to start talking about a case on stream. Is going to be boring for everyone else involved. Well, maybe not boring, but not as interesting as it could be. And plus, we have a topic, so I do not want to stray away from that either. Let's see. Whoa, there was an echo of myself since I turned on my own stream because I wanted to verbatim read the topic that is on for today. How backed up is the court system? This is what we're talking about in the US specifically since the lockdown began, and how to help it. Okay, so as you can see, there are at least 3, 4, if not even 5 points in that statement that is intentional, so that we can start breaking it down and going piece by piece. Yeah, by the way, thank you for reminding me. Don't forget to hit that like button for those of you who just joined us. Comment below with any and all comments, questions, suggestions, what have you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you get notified anytime I go live and post a new video, which hopefully should be coming here, in the next few months by the looks of it with the vaccine and all that. Yeah. And also, if you're so inclined, feel free to register as a member, or join, I think is what it's called. And then you get access to all sorts of fun perks, emojis, and memes, and so on and so forth. All right, let's begin. So the system being backed up, not news, right? Not news. Absolutely not news. The system in the United States, and I like to go back in time anytime that we are, actually, we just started a Flow Talk, so you're right on time. You can watch the prelogue, my 15-minute prelogue after we're done here. So as I like to go in a lot of in a lot of my topics, as you all know, Sterling Botter with a $40 dono. Holy crap. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. Merry Christmas, Sterling. Christmas came early this year to spit out a cliche. So as I like to go in a lot of my streams, I like to go to history, right? And if we look historically in the United States, and pretty much every state that I could think of, in my experience, this is not limited just to Kentucky. As rural areas, we're going to leave those alone for a minute, but we're going to talk about metropolitan cities today before they were metropolitan cities, right? Metropolitan cities have only really existed for the last century. They didn't exist before the 20th century came around. So the concentration of people in one place is a new phenomena, a very, very new phenomena. People used to be a whole lot more spread out in days of yonder. So the concept of one court having to deal with a bunch of cases is also fairly new. Okay, it is not ancient. It is not something that historically we can look to history, ancient China, and figure out how they dealt with congested court systems. Maybe they can. I don't know. I don't think we have that data. I think they may have had their own problems, their own different problems, but the congestion that we have today, especially with the pandemic, is unprecedented, as far as I know, in the history of the United States. Because even in 1919, during the Spanish flu pandemic, there weren't so many people concentrated in so many metropolitan cities with so many court cases, with so few courts handling such a large load of court cases, right? I even remember a story about a case in a small county in Illinois where Clarence Darrow, a very, very, very talented trial lawyer, one of the best, probably, I would venture to say he's in the top 3, if not the number 1 trial attorney of the 20th century, Jerry Spence being a close second. Clarence Darrow, there's a story, I read some of his closing arguments, and there's a story about a gentleman in a rural county, an African-American gentleman who was being accused of raping a white woman, and he was, arrested on the spot. And the story goes, the sheriff had to send a runner to go wake up the judge, because small county, small city, small town. I mean, this is just an example of how tiny some of these places were, and this is the turn of the 20th century. Clarence Darrow, the messenger had to go wake the judge up because the judge was asleep. This was like a warm July day, something like that, and the judge was asleep midday, just resting. Because that's what people did in those days in those little towns. When there was nothing to do, they would rest. And they had to wake the judge up to go to court. And they dragged this guy into court because there was nothing else to do. There was no docket on Tuesday. When there's a court case, there's a court case. And they wake the judge up and they haul everybody into court and everybody gathers. That was their theater. That was their television, right? As some of you may know, Clarence Darrow's, who are familiar with Clarence Darrow, his closing arguments were long and drawn out and exuberant, and they would just go on and on and on and on. And the reason for that is because people had nothing else to do. There was no television, there was no radio, there was theater, but you're not going to go to the theater on a Tuesday at 2:00 because it's closed. So if you have a lawyer giving a closing argument in a murder trial or a rape trial or a whatever, assault trial, then you're going to have your bit of entertainment. This was your entertainment. So that's why the closing arguments in those days were extremely long. Nowadays, I would avoid, like hellfire. Some of mine get a little long, and I'm working about fixing that, as some of you may have seen. But I've learned, you can say a lot fewer things in a lot more things in a lot fewer words. But anyway, that's in the future, as you'll probably see in my future trials. So back to the story. So the judge is awoken. He's brought into court. The gentleman is hauled into court on the charges, and the case is set for trial the next day. The next day it is set for trial. Now, Clarence Darrow is also, in his office. Back then, he was a jack of all trades. I think he was for most of his career. He was doing a lot more criminal stuff for a period of time, but he did all sorts of things. The Scopes Monkey trial, that's him. So he's done a wide variety, and some of you may be familiar with some of his work. But anyway, what's interesting is that Clarence is also he's hired by the mother, I believe, and he's hauled into court as quickly as possible because the judge is still there and all that. And Clarence Darrow asks for a continuance. And he's given a 1 day, like a 24-hour continuance of this trial. I mean, these people are having none of it. First of all, don't forget, this is an African-American and a white woman, a rape accusation, which is very serious. Back in those days, racism was rampant, Jim Crow laws and all that stuff. So there's an element of racism here, a very, very strong one. But at the same time, this is not the point I'm trying to make. The picture that I'm trying to paint for you all is the fact that this is how a small town court system operated, right? You have 48 hours basically from the time of your arrest and accusation to the moment of your trial. So everything is fresh. Everything is on everybody's mind. The emotions are still boiling. I cannot imagine. When I try a case, it is dry. Now, granted, I'm also doing DUI cases, which is a little bit different. So there's not much emotion and heatedness there. There's not drama and all that. But it's dry because memories fade and the officer doesn't have a personally vested interest in the case and he doesn't remember a whole lot. He has to fill in gaps and, and all that. So I can't imagine having to try a case when it just happened 2 days ago. I mean, that's unprecedented. You will never get a trial in 2 days in anywhere in Kentucky. I can't think of anywhere, honestly. So that was one example. This was almost 100 years ago, if not more than 100 years ago. I forget what's the date on this. You can look it up in one of his books. Or in one of the books that mentions Clarence Darrow's closing argument, I think it's called "The Walls Came Tumbling Down." If I'm not mistaken, it's either that or "The Greatest Closing Arguments" or something like that. There's a series. There's 3 books, and they're really, really fascinating. So Clarence Darrow was one example. Now, as we move forward, court systems became more and more clogged. Thank you, Thomas Robinson, for the coffee money. I appreciate that. 5 pounds, it looks like. British. Very cool. So, getting such a speedy trial is absolutely impossible in this day and age. And the bigger court system, so the bigger the metropolitan cities got, the bigger the courts had to get to accommodate for this need that needed to be filled. So problems started to arise. Now, some of you who have taken sociology or maybe sociology majors or maybe just in your own research know from sociology that there's the circle of the criminal justice system, and it's divided into 4 parts. And I'm trying to look it up because I just remembered it, and I think this is very pertinent to this topic. I forget what it's called exactly. Maybe somebody in the chat can help me. But basically, society goes through these stages about once every 25 years. It takes about 100 years to go fully through the cycle. And first, it's all about punishment. If we start there. Then, the concept of restorative justice, I believe, is the second one that comes about. And then there are a couple of other stages that it goes through. No, it's not a mitochondria, Red Rex. And I don't recall off the top of my head what it's called, but that's basically the cycle. And it takes about 100 years to go fully through the cycle. And right now, for the last 25 years or so, we're entering the restorative justice portion of the criminal justice system's way of handling cases. But for like the last 25, almost 30 years, we have been all about punishment. You know, somebody makes a mistake, lock their asses up. Somebody commits a crime and lock them up. That's the simplest way of looking at things. It's oversimplistic, you know, taking the individual that has committed the crime out of society, putting them in a box somewhere where they don't bother anyone, and just leaving them alone. No re-education, no rehabilitation. That's the word I was looking for. No rehabilitation, no re-education, no attempt to make that individual into a better person for maybe a variety of reasons. One, it's not possible. This individual is absolutely not open to rehabilitation, and they're just going to crash and burn because they don't care. Maybe the system is simply not equipped. By the way, if you have noticed, the names of our facilities that hold individuals, what are they called? Corrections facilities. They're not called but by name, you know, their official name. We call them jails and prisons, but that's not their official name. This is the common name, the slang name that we give them. They're called correctional facilities, Jefferson County Correctional Facility. And the reason for that, why is that word in there? What is corrections? It is a place to correct individuals in their behavior from bad where they were to the good where they should be. It does sound Orwellian, doesn't it? But at the same time, you got to remember it's not really forced on them. I mean, sometimes it was, but you're taking an individual who maybe does not understand right from wrong because they were raised poor. Maybe they were raised in a household where you know, they were just not given enough love. They were very poorly treated, and they don't know anything else. They think the only way to survive is to steal and rob and you know, break and enter and take stuff. And that's the only way that you can survive, which is not the case. So helping them understand that there are better ways of making life, you know, getting a job, getting sober and clean, and so on and so forth is better. So with the concept of lock them up, throw away the key, comes two different problems. Number one, eventually you're going to run out of space. And even if you're not, you create a host of other problems for yourself. And the second problem is these cases begin to accumulate. So, you know, and these people that are reoffending keep coming back into the system. You have to deal with that because they've committed a crime. They've been put on probation. Now they come back. Now they have two cases. They have the probation revocation. Now they have their new case, right? So circling back to our topic now, as it very nice and neatly bleeds into this, is you see how these cases begin to grow. These numbers of cases begin to grow and grow and grow. There was a point, and not that long ago, it was changed. Individuals who were committing traffic offenses, simple traffic offenses, you know, speeding ticket, moving violation, you know, failing to stop at a red light, and they would not pay that ticket, the system would send out a warrant for their arrest. I remember when I started out, by the way, a warrant for their arrest for a ticket. When I started out, I had one of these cases where an individual was sitting in jail. He was sitting in jail on a traffic offense. This was probably 2014. And I said, you know, how the hell did you get here? This is one of my first cases. How the hell did you get there? How did you get it locked up on like a speeding 17 over the speed limit? He said, I had another one, you know, like a 12 over from a couple of years ago that I forgot to pay, and they issued a warrant. So the cop was like, well, I see there's a warrant on your arrest. So buddy, I'm sorry, I got to take you in. They've recently fixed that just a year and a half ago. They finally did away almost, I think, nationwide. Definitely in Kentucky, I've never seen this again. They just issue what's called an FTA, or a failure to appear. So when you don't come to court, there's not a warrant for your arrest on a traffic offense. Now, if it's a misdemeanor, felony, DUI, which is still a traffic offense in Kentucky, but it's considered a kind of like a hybrid misdemeanor traffic offense. You will get a warrant. You will get a warrant in those cases. But if it's just traffic, if it's just a simple traffic infraction or a registration charge, God forbid, I mean, I've seen those back in the day. Registration, you would not update your registration. You would get a citation for it. You would, forget to come to court or forget to correct it, or you would correct it but forget to let the court know that you corrected it. And now there's a warrant out for your arrest. Silly, insane. And the sheriff's department wouldn't really bother with, especially in Jefferson County, with going out and serving them. In some other counties that I could think of, they would go out, especially the smaller ones. They would go out and arrest you because they got nothing better to do. Remember the judge in Illinois? Same thing. They just simply have nothing better to do, so they would go out and arrest you. But now that's done away with. So at least we're able to bring the numbers down. But there are still problems because, and this is, let me give you an example, not an example. I'm going to give you an insight into the day-to-day of what, a defense attorney and a prosecutor. Sometimes we would come in, converge on a case. Let's say there's an accident. We still haven't gotten the accident report. Why? Because one of the people in the office is out sick. Okay, that's no problem. It happens. But now what happens? You get the case kicked out 2 months. Okay, what about our other case? Well, the victim, we're still waiting on the victim. The victim hasn't gotten back with us yet. Okay, so we kicked that out a month and a half, 2 months. And then when we come back, the prosecutor may be out on the case that day again, which is fine. But now we're getting another 2 months. We have now successfully waited 2 months plus 2 months, which is 4 months. And we have accomplished absolutely nothing on one case. Again, this is just one very, very simple example, but that's how these cases get clogged up in the system. Now, of course, when cases get resolved, the numbers go down. But the problem is cases come in at much greater frequency than they are resolved. So you're always going to have a growth. That's why new prosecutors were hired for a time. I remember it was actually getting, in the DUI world, we were getting fewer and fewer prosecutors here in Jefferson County. But the interesting thing is that judges want to move their dockets along, and prosecutors want to try and get as many cases off the docket. But sometimes we can't help them because we need something from them. And I'm one of those attorneys who I can't just come in and take whatever deal is on the table if there's still more investigation to be done. So if I still need the videos and the prosecutor says that he does not have a copy of the videos because the police officer has not provided them to him yet, I can't make a deal. We can't play let's make a deal if I don't know what happened on the case. So now we have to kick it out twice. Maybe once, if the prosecutor gets me those videos in the interim before the next court date. But for the longest time, what would happen is we would get a new date. We would come back. They would give us the information, and that's it. And again, it's fine. It works. But the problem is that's how it gets clogged up and backed up. Okay? So you have an influx of cases and they're not getting resolved. So it's rising at a much higher rate than cases are getting resolved. Now, let's talk about the lockdown. Let's talk about the pandemic and how it has affected, at least in Kentucky. Again, I'm focusing because I have very, very personal experience with the cases here. I am familiar vaguely with a couple of other jurisdictions, but I'd much rather touch upon things that I know specifically. So what happened with the pandemic here in Kentucky with the court system? On March 12th, or was it March 13th, I think was a Friday. Willie Czar, thank you for the $20 donation, brother. Let me just sidetrack for a second. Happened to my son, he says, picked up 4 tickets, morning, took him outside in boxers with his member out. Oh boy. I had to beg cop to let him adjust himself. Holy crap. Damn, Willie. That's horrific. And I'm guessing he had unpaid tickets and he had to and he was arrested because there was a warrant out for his arrest. Yeah, that is not going to happen again. Not on speeding tickets, not on traffic infractions, not on registration, and so on. That's unbelievable. I'm so sorry that happened. But yeah, that is. But why was he in his boxers? Did he like get arrested in his house, or was he driving around in his boxers, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, that's horrible. I'm very sorry that happened to your son, Willie. So March 13th. Yeah, did they drag him outside? That's what I was thinking, Matt. Like, did they come to the house and arrest him? That's what it sounds like. Oh no, pensive Scarlet. Why would they give him a chance to get dressed? Because that's a chance for him to flee, right? I mean, the problem is when you give a person authority, power, and a badge, sometimes they get drunk on power and they ignore basic human decency, and we've seen it time and time again in jails and prisons, and of course out in public, as some of you who are familiar with the First Amendment auditors and watch them will know. So anyway, March. There you go. There's a direct example of someone getting picked up for a traffic violation. Horrible. March 13th was the last time I physically was in court. Now, since then, they've reopened again. Some of you know I have associates. They have been to court. But me personally, that was the last time I actually physically stepped foot inside a courthouse before the pandemic struck. And on that same Friday, I believe, the Supreme Court issued an order stating that the courts are closed until like April 30th. April 30th, because nobody knew how long this is going to last. Nobody knew how bad it's going to be. Nobody knew anything at all. And so the Kentucky Supreme Court included. They're the ones who issued the decree. They are the ones who issued the most recent decree that everything is closed until February, by the way. So not everything, but specifically jury trials and in-person court is highly discouraged, is what I mean. The courts are still open, don't worry. So what started happening, right? In Kentucky, specifically, individuals would still continue to pick up tickets, get into fights. I mean, the pandemic has created a whole new, not field, but an influx of cases in one very particular field. And that is family law. And not just family law, even criminal law when it comes to domestic violence, assault and battery, and so on. Because people, when they're forced to be together in lockdown, things happen, especially if you don't have the best of relationships. So that has created an influx of cases in that regard. And cases continue to come in. We even had a prosecutor not that long ago say that they had a very, very difficult time emotionally and mentally because they were dealing with so many domestic violence cases, and it just kept stacking up. This was just a few months ago. It's bad, and such is life, but it happens. So March 13th, everything shuts down. We're thinking, okay, April, we're going to come back. So happens that this complete shutdown, we're talking about an absolute complete court shutdown, lasted from March 13th in Kentucky until June 1st. Okay. That's district court and circuit court. I believe federal court was also in that same day. Obviously, they're not under the purview of the United States Supreme Court, but they were pretty similar in timeline. So what is that? April and May, 2.5 months. For 2.5 months, I think I calculated it one day. It was 70 is the number I remember. 70 days, there was absolutely no case being handled. You know, in those 70 days, hundreds of cases could have been resolved. Now, we would have probably gotten a few hundred new ones. That's fine. But the problem is, you know, instead of getting cases piled up and resolved, piled up and resolved, piled up and resolved, what did we have? Pile up, pile up, pile up, pile up, pile up, pile up, pile up. Not only that, you know, come June 1st, if y'all remember, the Breonna Taylor protests here in Louisville, as some of you who have been following the news, the George Floyd was pretty much the front and center, but in most other cities and states where it was going on, but here in Kentucky, Breonna Taylor was the focal point. So we had our protests here locally about Breonna Taylor and her family. And the courthouse, if you all remember, was completely trashed right around the time where it was supposed to open. So we lost an additional 15 days. So now we're almost, if not over, 3 months, almost 3 months that the court system was closed. Now we finally reopened, I believe, on the 18th of June or something like that. So we've been doing cases for about 6 months. But again, here's another cherry to add on top of this icing on the cake. We had a host of other issues because now prosecutors who were already bogged down with so many cases are now bogged down with all these new cases. They still have all of their old cases. There is no system in place as to how to continue advancing, resolving these cases and advancing them. So lawyers, including our office, started calling these prosecutors, and sometimes it's very difficult to get a response, not just for us, for other lawyers as well, because the prosecutors are drowning in work. And it's high quantity, blue sky, I think is what I mean. High quantity, because now they have all these new cases. They have all these old cases. New cases continue to keep coming in every day. They would probably, and by the way, there was a time at the beginning of September, I believe, when not half, it was like 5 or 6 prosecutors. I was going to say half of one of the rooms, but no, it was, I don't know specifics. About 5 or 6 prosecutors got COVID. And they had to shut down for another like 2 weeks. They shut down the courthouse. They still continue to do virtual court, which is not the same. And now these 5, 6 prosecutors are out of commission, so they can't do their cases. Absolutely impossible to get anything done during this pandemic. And so these cases continue to pile on, pile on, pile on, pile on, pile on. New cases come in. I think somebody said here in the chat that this is my season. This is DUI season, and they're right. People drink and drive a lot more in December and January and the holidays. I don't know why that is specifically. I have a guess, but that's just been historically our statistics. So even more cases are going to be coming in now, right? And it just continues to grow. It just continues to grow. So it's not easy. It's not easy for these prosecutors and judges to deal with this. I'm not jealous at all. I do not envy them. They have an extremely difficult job. Jefferson County just recently announced that they're finally going to get something called breakout rooms on Zoom, so that you'll be able to break into groups. Basically, caucus is the word that is used in this scenario. When you are in mediation, you would caucus, separate the parties, and then the mediator goes with one. You essentially will or conference the case is another word. Yeah. That's it. See Perceptions Music. So we're finally going to be able to, at least in Zoom hearing with the judge to be able to caucus, conference the case with the prosecutor, and then come back, to the judge and say, look, judge, we reached a resolution, or judge, we need more time, or judge, we need this, or blah, 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 whatever it is. Would like to move to dismiss all charges, which is my favorite phrase of all time. Whatever it is, whatever the decision is from both parties. And that's just finally going to be starting to roll out in January, I think they said. So it's just moving really, really slowly. And that's because it's very difficult to organize such a large organization, because it's the problem is the court system is a business at the end of the day. It's unfortunate to say that, but it's true. And I, as a businessman, I see all the faults that they're making, but I can't step in to correct them, and no one's going to listen to me if I try to make, if we make suggestions, we make them collectively as a unit, the defense bar and the prosecutors and so on. But individually, I could literally, if you give me a month, I feel that I would be able to fix a lot of the issues that they're having in the court system. Because again, at the end of the day, it's just a business. It is just a business. But the other difficulty is, and I think maybe I'm completely wrong, that I would not even be able to do it, is because I would realize the shortage of manpower that they have. The shortage of manpower in that system. And I would say, look, you need to hire people here, 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 and here. And then you need to implement all of this. And then you'll fix the problem. And what are they going to come back with? Well, we don't have the budget, right? We don't have the budget. That is just like the scariest thing. Like if I, as a business owner, if I wanted to hire another associate or another assistant or what have you, and I would have to look and say, well, I don't have the budget for it. That's a scary thought. That's a scary thought. You only want to hire someone when there's room for growth and you are trying to fill in that void. But the problem is with the court system, they have no interest in filling in the void, because hiring more personnel is not going to, quote unquote, increase revenue. It's actually going to decrease their revenue at the end of the day, because that one individual is, they're not bringing in more money because they're just employed by the government. They're doing their day-to-day. I think if you hired efficient workers, you might still be able to accomplish that. But that's, I'm already starting to bleed over into the final portion of this. Like how can we help it? By the way, before I continue, don't forget to like this video. These newcomers who have come in, I think we're at like 110 people. That's really nice. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. And if you're so inclined, feel free to join as a member, show your support with emojis and all that stuff. So how can they release the pressure, release the tension from what is currently happening in the system? And the truthful answer is, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. They need time. They need time. They need more manpower if they can get it. I don't think they're going to be able to get it. But if they can, they need more prosecutors and they need more clerks. And again, like I said, don't forget that periodically, some of these court personnel and prosecutors, they'll be out of commission. Like I said, COVID has taken a few of them out of commission for a short while. So it's not unheard of for that to happen. People get sick all the time. People got sick before COVID existed. But the numbers that we have now, when it comes to new cases coming in and total cases that the system has to deal with, mind you, I don't even know the number. There are hundreds, maybe even a couple thousand, as far as I know, cases in Jefferson County specifically that are sitting in something called a parking lot. What is a parking lot? A parking lot is a case that is not working, not being litigated, does not have a next court date, does not have a future appearance, and is not scheduled to be called before a judge. It is literally just sitting there. On our roster, about 45% of our cases currently are sitting in a parking lot. We're only working about 55% of our current workload of clients. Okay. Now that's a problem. That's a problem because these cases that are sitting in the parking lot are just a bomb waiting to happen, an explosion that is coming, and it's coming. Make no mistake about it. I don't know how the system is going to deal with it. It has gotten so bad that prosecutors were going through and finding all these cases of, just BS registration, failure to update registration with no traffic offense, just paperwork stuff, not insurance, not no insurance, but like failure to produce an insurance card, failure to update your registration, failure to, update your registration receipt, failing to update your license that is expired. I'll get to your donation in just a second, Star of Texas. And they would just start dismissing these cases left and right because, well, they don't have time for them. And they're just so low on the totem pole. And by the way, I think they were also forgiving a lot of people for failing to register the vehicle because getting to the DMV was almost impossible. Star of Texas, thank you for the $5 dono, brother. Inform yourself, he says, of the Bill of Rights to secure your freedom. You mentioned First Amendment auditors. They are informative how to invoke your rights. I agree. Looking at some of their work will broaden your vistas at the very least as to what your rights are. And I think everybody should do that because everybody thinks, they have heard of the First Amendment. They're aware of the First Amendment, but they don't know how to practically apply it. A little off topic, but I'll take it. It's a good point. All right. Blue Sky is, I already know who Blue Sky is based on the comments he's been making, but we'll let him go for a little bit longer. And if he gets a little out of hand, I'm more than welcome to silence him. But it sounds like a sovereign citizen to me, Blue Sky. That's what I was thinking. He's made some good points. He's not a total troll, so that's why I'm letting him slide for a little bit. But anyway, so what is the corrective measure? Coming back to the final point, what is the corrective measure that we can take in order to release the pressure? More personnel, like I said, is one of them, and paying these prosecutors a little bit more for them to actually care and want to do their job. How about that? How about that? Paying public defenders more as well. They've gotten a raise a few years ago. It wasn't that much, but it's better than nothing. The problem is, again, we don't have any money. We don't have it in our budget, right? And getting more prosecutors is a problem because they can't do it. And the prosecutors that we have now it's going to take how long has this been going on? What I say, March 13th is when it really, really went down. It's been 9 months. It's almost to the day. It is December 12th. 9 months. 9 months we've been going through this. It's going to take more than months to fix this. I think at least in Jefferson County, I foresee it's going to take us right when the pandemic ends, depending on when it finally starts going back to normal. Hey, Deb. Good to see you. All right. Good riddance. Enough of that. But yeah, a serious restructuring of the system is necessary. I absolutely agree, Mr. Course Blue. And how do you do that? How do you do that with a system that is inherently flawed? I'm in Kentucky, Terry sees. And implement corrective measures that will, the tentacles of which will spread nationwide. How do you do that? Because not only, we've talked about the simple, quote unquote, simple fact of cases being stacking up, but what about looking at each individual case and the problems that the system has in prosecuting each individual case rather than just, looking at the cases collectively? The corruption and the shadiness that goes on in the system on top of everything. It's not easy. It's not easy because the system is rotten at its core. And if you just, you add sprinkles to a pile of shit, it's still a pile of shit. You're not going to make it into a cake. And that's basically what we're dealing with here. We can try and add sprinkles to the system, but I don't think it's going to work. So that's basically what I have to say about that. I noticed that a lot of people have been talking in the chat about police misconduct, which, doesn't directly relate to the topic today. I mean, it's tangentially related, so we can touch upon that, but we've already talked about it so many times. We've beaten that horse to death, that police officers do go out of line, and they do a lot of times arrest people that don't deserve to be arrested, and that clogs up the system even further. See, this is how we can bring it back to today's topic. These cases are stacking up, and they shouldn't even be there in the first place. And everybody hates bad cops. Nobody likes them. So that's pretty much all I have to say on the topic. We've been going for about an hour now, almost. And I want to see if you guys have any questions. Does anybody have any questions for me about this topic? As long as it's not totally off topic, I'll probably answer it. But I want to hear what you all have to say. I want to hear what questions you have about all this. Do you have any suggestions? By all means, we can make this an open discussion to decide and discuss on how we can decide to move this forward and to alleviate the pressure on the system. Kevin Coburn, welcome to the channel. Thank you, brother. He just joined as a member. You see the little green thing? That is thank you so much for joining, Kevin. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. I'll give you a thumbs up. Thanks, Star of Texas. Don't forget to like this video. He says, I like the videos. I appreciate it, brother. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, or feel free to join, just like Kevin just now did. Thank you, Kevin. How do you wait so patiently listening to the opposing case, Esteline Westby? Decorum, politeness go a long ways, Ms. Westby. It goes a long ways. And in the system, it's absolutely necessary. You have to sit there and make sure that you just do your job properly, despite what they say. How can I sue an employer for not paying me? Talk to a lawyer, John. Greg Schultz says, always great learning about the law from a legal practitioner. Thanks, man. Police misconduct is able to happen so much because the court supports said conduct. Well, it doesn't necessarily support a doodly-doo, but it doesn't do much against it. I will agree there. I feel lots of people who criticize the police don't realize how much judges and prosecutors contribute to the issue. Very, very, very much true. Very much true. Because they don't do an investigation. Even when a police officer gets into trouble, openly, and they show that something was done incorrectly, they just let it slide. I've seen it so many times. I just got here a few minutes ago. I was wondering, can the prosecutor delay your court hearing until the until the pandemic is over? Excuse me, Roxanne. Can the prosecutor do that? I mean, they can try. You can always make a motion to dismiss if they're just arbitrarily continuing the case. They have to have more of a justification other than just pandemic. You can't just write, continuing because pandemic. That's not going to do any good. But if they have a justifiable reason under the pandemic to continue it once the pandemic is over, well, then maybe. Maybe. What percentage of my cases are DUIs this scene? About 85 to 90. Great question, Island Girl. What about your right to a speedy trial? Can it be used if your case gets pushed way out at an unreasonable date? Absolutely. Absolutely. Can't the system alleviate the pressure itself? Well, like I said, not telling. It's going to take forever. It's going to take years. Because let's say hypothetically, we start going back to normal March 13th of next year. It will be exactly 1 year since the pandemic started. I think for every month of pandemic delay, we would need 3 to 4 months to resolve all those cases, basically. So if you take 12 and multiply it by 3 or 4, it'll take 3 to 4 years to clear up the mess that COVID has created. That's my opinion, my own personal opinion. What rules of procedure does the court follow for a civil infraction? Are you talking about? Oh, I see what you're saying. I typically don't deal with those, but it's just the regular rules of court, rules of procedure and rules of evidence. They're probably a little bit more relaxed, but they still exist. If an officer lies on the ticket, can the case be dismissed? Not usually. Angela Newbill says, I have given suggestions 3 times without a response. Let me go back and see. I'm sorry I missed them. That was during my lecture. There ought to be some standard of respect and treatment for all citizens. I agree. They're not using law clerks and law students enough. They wouldn't have to pay, and it would help the court and the students. Well, having a law student maybe working in the prosecutor's office, but I can't see a law student wanting to do the job of a court clerk. I mean, that's just beneath their station. Why aren't they tapping into student manpower? Yeah, no, I think that's a horrible idea when it comes to the court. Maybe getting them as an intern to the prosecutor's office, but then again, there's only so much they can do because they're not licensed attorneys. So it's a great idea, thinking outside the box, but I don't think it's very practical. But thank you for the input. I'm sorry I missed it. We're not talking about nystagmus today, Jerry. Will employing more government actors help the system move faster? Well, will it create a need for more revenue? Both. I think it will help them release the pressure, but they'll also need to pay them, so they want more money. So it's kind of like a lose-lose for the citizenry. Yeah, Esteline Westby. Speedy trial, but we have these parking lots, at least in Jefferson County. I don't know about other counties because we're just so big. We're the biggest county in Kentucky. Young Dumplings asks, hey, Mr. Foreman, as a 15-year-old interested in law, what would you recommend me to do right now? I do debate, and that's about it. That's a good start. Debate is great. Join mock trial. Join your mock programs, mock trial programs if you have any. Do some acting classes, I would say, if you can, even if you have like a stand-up comedy club or whatever, or stand-up comedy, not club. Like, I don't mean like to go and watch someone. I mean like a club where people hang out and do like maybe Whose Line Is It Anyway games. It'll help you tremendously, especially if you want to be in the courtroom. If you want to be a transactional attorney, meaning, you know, sitting in an office and writing paperwork, I'm the worst person to ask. I'm a litigator. I'm out there. I'm in the courtroom. Should we remain silent when stopped by a cop? Asks Speed Racer. I think Speed Racer missed my last stream. So allow me the pleasure of sharing the link of my last stream in this stream. And it is titled, by the way, Why You Should Never Ever Talk to the Police Under Any Circumstances or at Any Point in Time Ever. So that's for you, Speed Racer. Everybody else who's interested in watching, that was by far, excuse me, the best stream I think I've ever had in my YouTube days. We had like almost 450 people concurrently watching at one time, and there was so much energy and it was so alive. It was great fun. Short answer is see, all the regular subscribers know. Short answer is shut up, says F Lotog. Always remain silent, F Lotog. Yeah. Never answer questions. Have you ever encountered a defendant claiming that they asked for breathalyzer? Jerry, come on. We're not talking about breath tests today. High quality home maintenance. Have you ever had to prove jurisdiction? I know where you're coming from. I'm not touching that subject. No, Mr. Mematic. Thank you, Lurk. The system is corrupt. They charge you even when you're innocent. Money to the cops, courts, lawyers. Lawyers don't give a damn. Some do. Doodly Doo, you can watch it. You know, it's on my channel. It's fairly short. I mean, it's only 1 hour and 5 minutes. This one has already gone longer than that. Hey, red, white, and blue. All right, so I think I've gotten most of the relevant questions. Does anybody have any other questions for me about this topic? How backed up is the system, the American court system in the US? Wait a second, I just realized I wrote American. How backed up is the American court system in the American in the U.S.? Nice. Good job. Good job, Larry. American in the U.S. I'll have to correct that. I didn't realize. Like I said, I was rushing as soon as I got here because I was already late. So how corrupt is how no not how corrupt how backed up is the American court system in Great Britain? What? That doesn't make much sense. American in the U.S., yes, but American in Great Britain, no. Does not compute. Make a sign for the cops. I like that, Thomas Robinson. He says, quote, "My mouth is on lockdown." It's COVID. I can't speak. Like germs like COVID. I could ingest COVID-19 germs. No talkie. What got me into trial law? My passion for it, and I guess my ability to do it pretty well. The only absolute and unqualified right of a United States citizen is to residence within the territorial boundaries. Oh boy. All right, so it looks like the chat is going off on a tangent. I think I've answered most questions. I don't see any new questions popping up. So we're going to end the stream here. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming today. Thank you so much for watching this really fun topic. I hope you learned something. I've given you some insight, some practical insight into what the court system looks like here, what it looked like pre-COVID, what it looked like before metropolitan cities. We touched upon how we can possibly make things better. Again, it's a very difficult topic, I think, when it comes to correction, because the individuals who are running the system are not really in the best position to be interested to correct it. That's really what it boils down to. And they can't do it on their own. They need help. They need assistance, and they're not willing to take any, because then it's not just any kind of business. It's the court system. So now anybody who's going to be involved from the side is now a potential influencer, and you're opening it up to even more corruption. So that is a bad no. I mean, can you imagine if you were an investor into the court system, and you're also a criminal defense attorney, for example, or even if you're not, but your cousin or your cousin's cousin or your cousin's uncle, mother's son's aunt's daughter gets into trouble, and you were an investor in the court system. I mean, you see how insane that becomes. So it's all done behind closed doors. It would never be public like that, as we all know. So again, thank you all for joining me. Like I said, there will be no live stream next Saturday or next 2 Saturdays. The next live stream is going to be on January 2nd. I haven't decided on the topic yet because it's 3 weeks away. But we will just keep your eye peeled on the community tab. I will post it at some point, probably after Christmas. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Merry Christmas, since I won't see you. Happy New Year again, since I won't see you. Until then, for those of you who were here, again, thank you so much. All right, Float Dog, I can't deny you one last question. You caught me right at the last second. So since you're a member, I will allow it. And you all stay safe for sure. Thank you, Thomas. You better hurry up, Flotog. Happy Festivus, Greg. Yes. I'm waiting for your question, Flotog. No problem, Kevin. Thank you. Did I miss it? No, I didn't miss it. Oh, Send. Did you email me? I don't see it. I just see sustained. Would you encourage everyone that gets arrested to do so? To shut their mouths? Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Kevin Coburn. That's really cool. F Low Talk. I'm not, unless I'm missing something. I'm sorry. It's not, I don't see it. Kevin Coburn says his professor has seen some of my videos. That's pretty cool. I have a wide audience. Well, listen, F Low Talk. I'm sorry. I really have to sign off here. Email me, okay? If you want to ask me something, email me. You got my email. So again, thank you all so much for coming. I had a great time. I hope you all learned something. And I, of course, as always, have learned something else from you as well. So have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. And I will see you all January 2nd, Saturday, January 2nd, 6:30, when half of you are probably going to be hungover and half asleep. So see you all then. Bye-bye.